This is Paul Turney, the immigration barrister at Imperium Chambers. Yet more bad news for the Teflon Home Secretary as a High Court judge criticised the department over the restarting of evictions of asylum seekers during the pandemic. There's a case been brought to try and stop this, and as part of this High Court case, the High Court have actually stopped the evictions of asylum seekers temporarily and criticised Priti Patel over her department's use of public funds, or rather handing out the public funds without really knowing why or how they can do so. What is disturbing, but it's reassuring that we have an independent judiciary, is that in the way that the judge criticised Priti Patel's department and the way that they dealt with the public purse, i.e. taxpayers' money. Why anyone could be safely evicted and forced to live on the streets is anyone's guess. Certainly with the pandemic it's worse, and it certainly does not fit with the humane and people first Home Office that Priti Patel promised after the Windrush scandal report came out. It's not just me that finds the thought of evicting asylum seekers who've often come from terrible countries wrong. Public Health England's view was that it could not advise that anyone should be enabled to become homeless from a public health perspective during the coronavirus pandemic. A perhaps not surprising finding from Public Health England. Part of the challenge was that it was said that the Home Office had changed its accommodation policy with the consequence of restarting evictions of asylum seekers in a manner that may well have been illegal. What the judge found rather, that it was extremely troubling to hear from the Home Office that they may have acted unlawfully in effectively handing out public funds, handing out taxpayers' money without any legal authority, or not knowing whether they had any authority to do so. In what must have been quite embarrassing for Priti Patel, and yet another damning indictment of the broken Home Office, the judge, Mr. Justice Garnham, raised concerns that the Home Office could have been distributing public funds without lawful authority. They're not just allowed to just give it away. There needs to be a proper basis to actually issue public funds. The Home Office admitted that they did not know at the time, and this is in their own words, at the time we did not consider what power or whether we had the power to implement what we saw as an administrative changes. This was a response to the urgency of events and the immediate concern about keeping people in the same accommodation. This simply didn't really please the judge or satisfy the judge, because the judge went on to comment, and it's quite disturbing how he commented on it. The Secretary of State is saying that she was acting without lawful authority. It seems to be a most serious submission to be making in court, if that is what she is saying. So it was essentially the Secretary of State's own evidence that meant that the public funds were being handed out without the lawful authority. The judge went on and added that it was extremely troubling, if correct, that the Home Secretary was acknowledging that she was acting without power when she set up this system for distribution of public funds, that she did so without legal authority. The result of these disturbing comments was that Priti Patel was forced to apologise to the court for putting it in this position. It's rare that one hears her apologise at all, but in particular she did so having heard the comments of the judge. However, the positive news is that the Secretary of State has been prevented from enforcing evictions until the hearing resumes on the 27th or 28th of May 2021. So there are two things that come out of this video. Firstly, the Home Office has quietly started trying to evict asylum seekers during the middle of a pandemic, which again is against Public Health England's view. And secondly, that apparently they've been handing out public money without really any lawful basis for actually handing it out. And that was why the case was adjourned, so that the Secretary of State could go and see if they were actually acting lawfully or not lawfully. This is, again, another disturbing sign of saying one thing and doing another. Saying you want to be humane and people first, whilst quietly parking people, pushing people out onto the streets. I'll update you when the court resits, and I'll definitely update you with the judgment as to whether the Home Office have acted lawfully in the way that they sought to evict asylum seekers. Thank you very much for watching this disturbing video. Please subscribe to my channel. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperial Chambers.